guys, how you going? So today on BKR Sport, we are back for the World Rugby Review. We obviously do this every single Tuesday, regardless if there's any rugby on right now, and there is no rugby on right now, but the Rugby World Cup draw was on last night. Yes, ooh, spicy stuff. Well, there is a group there that is pretty much the exact same group. Actually has a chance of literally being the exact same group as the 2019 World Cup. So a bit bland there, but you know, it is what it is. But anyway, let's get into discussing what happened in the Rugby World Cup draw overnight in France, and let's go through the teams and let's see who has the best chance of getting through and who would be the happiest out of their groups. Alright guys, so let's get into it. So the first pool, which we're obviously going to be talking about every single pool individually and what teams are thinking. So the first pool, Pool A, was New Zealand, France, Italy, Americas 1 and Africa 1. This is a pretty easy group to decipher. Firstly, let's talk about what we think about the Americas 1 and Africa 1. I think Africa will more than likely be Namibia. Namibia are probably... well, definitely are, I think, world rankings-wise. Actually, let me go and look at that. I think definitely are, world rankings-wise, the number one team in Africa by about, a good 10 spots, you know, over Kenya. What are they? Yeah, 24, and Kenya are 32. So they're 8 spots above Kenya. I don't really see Kenya being able to beat Namibia to get that spot, and I think that Namibia will be able to lock that one up there for Africa 1. And then in regards to the Americas 1, this is a little bit more contentious. There's actually a couple of teams here that could sneak in here. There's either USA, Canada, or Uruguay. Now, Uruguay haven't been playing great in recent years, but in the same sense, they're more than likely going to get it, but I wouldn't count out USA and I wouldn't count out Canada. Now, you do have to think about Chile, Paraguay, Colombia, a couple of those teams. I just don't think that they're going to get either 2 spots because there is actually 2 spots for the Americas. So even if one team misses out here, there is in Pool D, Americas 2. So for me, I'm going to do a prediction here. I'm actually going to say that Canada sneaks in this spot. I actually think that Canada gets the number 1 spot there because I think they're progressing relatively nicely, and I think that Canada might be able to take over from the USA, who are 16th compared to Canada's 23, but Canada haven't been playing too much rugby late. And I just think that they're a bit more progressive. I don't think USA should be anywhere near where they are, but they are there, whoop-de-doo. But I'm going to go out with a little bit of an outlandish statement, say Canada. If it doesn't happen, whoop-de-damn well do. Then it's the USA. But either way, neither of these 2 teams, or 3 teams, are getting through this group regardless, right? So for me, Africa, Namibia, and Americas 1, I'm going to be giving to Canada. Now, this group is I'd say probably the easiest group of the lot. I'd say overall, this is the most obvious group to pick out of the lot for who goes through and where each team does come. I'm calling France first, I'm calling New Zealand second, Italy third, and then I'll probably go Namibia fourth, and then whoever comes first in that Americas group, I'm going to have them fifth. That's my prediction. I think that there is just no way that anyone else can overtake either of those 2 teams. I've got France as the favourites for this World Cup, so that says it all, and the All Blacks just aren't losing out to Italy. Now, Italy are a good team, but they're not quality. You know, they're a good team. We speak about this next week with the grading, which was meant to come out today, but obviously, you know, what happened with the stream. You know, we talk about this with Italy next week and the grading of how all these teams went this year, and I don't mind Italy. I like Italy. You know, Italian action, buddy, it's good in the rugby, but it's obviously not at that level yet. So for me, I have them in a clear third. They're much, much superior to the 2 teams below them, but they're also very much not great compared to the other 2 teams. So pretty simple. France and New Zealand going through. Happy days. Next up, we've got Pool B. Now, Pool B is South Africa, Ireland, Scotland, Asia Pacific 1, and Europe 2. So this group is actually relatively difficult-ish. I guess it's more well-rounded than Pool A specifically. There's obviously 3 teams there that do have a chance of going through. I don't obviously think any of the other teams that have to qualify still will do anything. I'll say that across all groups. We all know that anyway. But Asia Pacific 1 is interesting. It's an interesting spot because obviously, you know, Samoa and Tonga are the clear out-and-out favourites for that Oceania 1 spot, which is in Pool D. Samoa and Tonga are the out-and-out favourites. One of those 2 teams will qualify. And I think they have to play each other, and then I think maybe whoever loses that game has to play Papua New Guinea, who won the Oceania Cup, for the Asia Pacific 1 spot. So I personally believe that whether it be Samoa, I think Samoa beats Tonga right now. I think Samoa beats Tonga. So I'm going to put Samoa in Oceania 1, which means I put Tonga here. So Tonga goes in with South Africa, Ireland, Scotland. I could be thinking about this all wrong. But either way, that's my thoughts. And Europe 2, obviously Georgia will get Europe 1. Georgia will simply get Europe 1. So I think the other teams that it comes down to would be your Romania, your Spain, Russia, Portugal. That's probably it. That's probably it. I'm not even thinking about the Netherlands. Yeah, that's probably it. So it'll come down to Portugal, Russia, Romania, and Spain. Now, I'm actually going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say I didn't mind what I saw from Portugal in this rugby season when they beat Brazil 2 times. Now, Brazil aren't great by any means, but I do think Portugal aren't exactly terrible. I think that, yes, obviously the favourites definitely should be the Spanish, but I don't really like. I think they're quite negative rugby in my personal opinion right now. So I guess I don't really want to see them there. But Romania are also a very sneaky shout. I don't think Russia are good enough at the moment, but I think it definitely will be between Portugal, Romania, and Spain. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Portugal, just because I think they're definitely improving. They've just jumped into the top 20. Congratulations, Portugal. So yeah, I'll give that spot there to Portugal. I'll give that spot to Portugal. Yeah, I'll give that there. It could, honestly, Romania definitely are the other team that I'll be thinking there. I'm not a big fan of Spanish rugby at the moment. But Pool B, I think that we all know that South Africa are going to win this. People don't watch enough rugby to really have as much of an opinion as people put out there. You know, it's great to have an opinion, but if you're going to tell someone they're wrong, or you're going to tell someone that, hold on a second, you know, Ireland are going to win this group because they're fantastic. It's like, well, I've just watched the Autumn Nations Cup and I've watched the Six Nations. I watch every single game from basically all these teams in the World Cup, right? I watch every single game. I can tell you right now, Ireland and South Africa are worlds apart. South Africa, based on what we saw last year, based on what we saw at the World Cup, are the best team in the world. Obviously, they won the Rugby World Cup and also the Rugby Championship. So, you know, fair enough. They're the best team in the world. But it's also been a long time of doing drinks. It's going to be roughly 2 years in between them playing any kind of games. Obviously, they've got their domestic competition going right now, but that's also interesting to see what's going on there because there's no Super Rugby next year. Australia and New Zealand has separated from them, so that'll be very interesting. But look, I think South Africa probably still do win this group, but in the same sense, I don't know what it's going to be like in 3 years' time. They might be a completely different team to compare to what we see now because we don't even know what they are like now. A year ago was when we last saw them play. And we're not going to see them this year. So later on next year is when we're going to see this team for the first time. No, sorry, we're going to see them against the Lions. So that'll be a really good telling point for how this team goes. And that's still, you know, a decent while away. Ireland, I actually think, and I'm going to put a bit of a shout here, I actually think Scotland could sneak this. I actually think Scotland could sneak second. If Ireland do regress as much as they have been recently, I honestly could see Scotland, with their progression, jumping over Ireland. I know Ireland just beat Scotland in the Autumn Nations Cup third place playoff, but that was with the second string Scottish team. The Irish have looked very underwhelming, and I could definitely see Scotland sneaking into that second spot behind South Africa. So that'd be very interesting. This is not an easy group to tell. This is not an easy group to tell by any means, right? Don't just look at the standings right now and say that South Africa will easily win. Ireland should definitely get above Scotland, and Scotland will come third. I don't think that's the case. I don't think any of this is the case. So it's going to be very interesting. Long way to go. Obviously, Six Nations will see a lot more about Scotland, like I always say. Ireland, they need to prove a lot more. And South Africa, we need to wait until we see these guys again, man. We need to wait until we see these guys again before we can lock them in as that number one spot. But they should get the number one spot, though. Like, realistically, they should get it. Next up, we have Pool C. Now, Pool C is Wales, Australia, Fiji, Europe 1, and final qualifier winner. I think this is probably the second most difficult group to predict. I think that the most difficult group to predict is actually Pool D. But I think this is definitely probably the second, and probably even equal with Pool D as the most difficult group to predict. I don't think it's the group of death by any means. I don't really think there is a group of death. I think they're all pretty difficult besides Pool A. But Wales, Australia, Fiji, Europe 1, and final qualifier winner. I think that the final qualifier winner will more than likely be Uruguay. I think Uruguay will sneak in here if they can get in. I think that's the way. And Europe 1 will be obviously Georgia. So this is basically the exact same group as we saw in 2019. Actually, no, that would be, if that's right, that would be the exact same team, as exact same group as we saw in 2019. 2015, Wales, Australia, and Fiji all play each other. In 7, Wales, Australia, and Fiji also played in the same group. So this group is just so damn repetitive, man. But look, obviously Georgia are going to finish 4th and Uruguay will finish 5th. Or Uruguay might finish 4th. You never know. But I think Georgia are a better team than Uruguay. People don't understand that Fiji are a good team. 2023, they're a good team. They're a good team now. They obviously haven't played in over a year. They played one game, and that was with no training, no nothing, because of the virus going through their team. They were meant to play Autumn Nations Cup, didn't. Australia, they are progressing unbelievably going towards that 2023 World Cup. They will be one of the top 4 favourites for that World Cup. I know you don't believe it now, but you watch enough rugby and you'll understand, especially considering that you can easily turn that 3 draws, 1 win, and 2 losses into 4 wins and 2 losses. But obviously people don't want to look at that. And then Wales, and that's obviously because the kicker, Reece Hodge, Buddy Bastard. Wales, they look absolutely dog shit right now. They look absolutely horrendous, and they don't look like they're progressing. They look like they're regressing. They look like they're going further backwards. So I saw people on Instagram saying, why do Wales get the easy group? Are you shitting me? Like, every other pool wanted Wales. Every other pool wanted Wales. I wanted Wales. Why would I want South Africa, New Zealand, or England? You know what I mean? Like, we want Wales. Wales, they don't have it easy. They're 9th right now. And realistically, a regular season of rugby, they go to 11th behind Fiji and behind Japan. So any Welsh fans talking shit, you need to watch more damn well rugby, because your team is horrendous right now. And they aren't proving nothing going 3 years away. They aren't proving anything going into Six Nations. They have a team that has gone so far downhill that they should be out of the top 10 right now. But even if they're not out of the top 10 right now, they're still 9th, well and truly below Australia, and realistically should be below Fiji. So for me, I've actually got Australia and Fiji at this very moment, from the way they look like progressing, going through. I don't have Wales going through here. People saying Wales easy group, are you shitting me? Do you even know rugby? Like, holy damn. Like, do you even watch this team? They were horrific in the Autumn Nations Cup. And Six Nations, they were just bland and boring. Gee whiz, you need to look a lot harder. A lot harder at rugby if you think that Wales got the pick of the groups. None of these groups would have favoured them. And there's no way that you're going to tell me Japan and Argentina is not easier than Australia and Fiji, even in that regard. Like, come on, man, give me a break. Tell you what, like, it's just outrageous that people say something as stupid as that. It's like, that's probably one of the more difficult groups. It is, because Georgia is still a decent enough team and Uruguay is still a decent enough team, but I still think we know who the top 3 are, but in the same sense, buddy, wank on. All right, so next up, let's move into Pool D. Anyway, I'll do my prediction quickly. I will be putting Australia first, and I will be putting Fiji second. Simple as that. Do I think that Australia are going to win the World Cup? No, but I do think that they will have progressed really well, and I think they're going to be focusing on that 2027 World Cup after a major rebuild of the organisation and everything in between. Pool D, England, Japan, Argentina, Oceania 1, and Americas 2. Now, like I said before, Oceania 1, more than likely for me, will be Samoa, unless it's Tonga, but for me, it's Samoa, and Americas 2 would go to either the USA or Uruguay. Well, honestly, we could even see... Well, I already put Uruguay in the final qualifier winner, so I think obviously then I'd put USA in the Pool D. So yeah, they're the weakest link there, and Samoa should come fourth, but they could be sneaky. They are improved in the same sense. They are still much lower than what they used to be. England should win this group relatively easily. I think England definitely are the out-and-out clear favourites for this group by a long way. People overestimate Japan based on one World Cup and based on the fact that they're decent, but that was one World Cup and that was in Japan. They had home favouritism, and that was at a really good time for them. We haven't seen them over a year's time. We don't know what the hell Japan rugby is going to look like next year, let alone 3 years' time. I would honestly put these guys as third. And obviously that could change, long time between drinks, but Japan could, right now, I'd be putting them in third, and a clear third too. And then Argentina, I'd obviously put second. But the thing is as well with Argentina, right? There is no Jaguares. Super Rugby done. They're not there. So they'll be in South America's competition or whatever it is, or the Americas, whatever it is. Americas is not the Super Rugby, right? So you cannot back the Argentinians in to still be there and still be a decent enough team in 2023 with so much confusion going on outside of international rugby that involves all their players, okay? Also, by the way, on Pool C, all of Georgia's players, majority of the time, play in France. A majority of the Georgian players play in France in the French league, so they're also playing a bit of a home tournament there, so it makes it even a little bit more difficult. But yeah, in regards to Pool D, I think that for me, right at this very moment, you know what? I might even put Japan second. I don't know about Argentina going forward. I can't rely on it. I cannot rely on it. But I think this is a relatively-ish difficult group. It's very difficult to... it's honestly a really difficult group to predict from second onwards. I honestly think Samoa could even push. It just depends on how Argentina goes off the field in regards to what happens to Super Rugby, and if Buddy Jaguares get basically knocked down to some shit kicker league in South America or the Americas, and then with Japan, I have no idea what they're going forward with. So that's the thing. But for me, England easily win there. So the 4 winners would be France, South Africa, Australia, and England, and the 4 second places would be New Zealand, Scotland, Fiji, and Japan. But like that second place in a lot of those groups is also very difficult, especially with Fiji, Wales. I'm pretty happy with Scotland. Pool A is easy, and Japan, Argentina, and even Samoa could swap around there. So that's my predictions. That's my reactions. If you have a different reaction, different thoughts, let me know in the comment section below. That'll do me for this week. Next week, the grading comes out of all the teams this year. It was meant to come out today, but obviously it'll come out next week now, part 1 and part 2 the week after. Hope you have enjoyed, guys. Obviously, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that thumbs up button as well. Appreciate you guys. Definitely check the notification bell on because we are posting daily. We also do streams all the damn well time. And yeah, I think that'll lock us up. So I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.